Hey YouTube, it's your beekeeper here, coming back at you with a long-lingering, long-stalled project for that 1969 Cardinal Deluxe 10-foot long camping trailer. Since I bought that thing a little over 4 years ago, I said, oh boy, it would really be nice to have a toilet. Something you could sit on, something you could do your business without having to run in the woods in the middle of the night and fend for yourself while you're in a vulnerable position. And about 2 years ago, actually probably a little more than 2 years ago, I started collecting parts for it. I had a design in my head. It's interesting how the overall design the overall concept has stayed the same, but the design's a little bit different, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. A little over 2 years ago, I did a video of this, and it's funny because I just watched it, and that's why I know. I talk about all the things I want to do, and then once you start building stuff, it's not always the same, but this is the finished product. Looks extremely simple. It's funny. My neighbor came over and looked at it, and he's like, well, that looks pretty basic. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea. Just go away. How much time it took to make this correct, because I'll show you when I install it. But hang tight. I'm going to start taking this thing out. And I used Unistrut here, and he's like, well, why'd you use this stuff with all the holes in it? The only reason I use the Unistrut is this actually supports the waste tank, the 9.5 gallon waste tank, which I'll show you in a minute. But I liked it because it had these nice, easy, rounded edges. It's a shelf on the edge of the tank that sits right on here, and it's nice and rounded, so there shouldn't be any friction on that tank, and that was kind of important to me. Otherwise, I'd have just done it all in this 1.5 by 1.5, way over-engineered. I think it's eighth inch thick. It is 1/8 inch thick. Angle iron, and I didn't want any movement. Nothing in that trailer is square, which is funny. Why would I expect a 54-year-old trailer to have any square parts to it? Which is why it took this so long, because I'll show you. How about I just show you? So let me pick this thing up, take it outside. I'm going to see how this video progresses. We're in early April right now of 2023, and I'm going to take snippets as snippets get snipped, and I'll put together hopefully a comprehensive video that someone may find useful, and hopefully someone or two people find it entertaining to some degree. But this comes off so you can service the tank. Again, I'm going to put it together piece by piece in there. I'm going to take that out. I'll bring you right back. Bug. There's the stand. Guys, remember this bug? It's a fun place to use this trailer. So here we are. It's a mess in here right now, and that's okay. This trailer right now gets used about 3 or 4 times a year, pretty consistently since I brought it home, dragged it home in the end of 2018. Sometimes I even just sleep in here outside on nice nights because I like fresh air. I just open all the windows and I come in here, and yeah, I'm a weirdo. I got a house with a nice comfortable bed, but I like sleeping in here, so I usually keep it set up like this unless I'm taking it on a little day trip or something. But so quick recap. This used to be a closet that houses the freshwater tank for the sink. Yeah, I'm burning in the 12-volt system right now. I just rewired. Well, one of the projects I did was I rewired all the 12-volt system, because that'll be another video on how I power this thing up. And I just want everything to work. So what I did was I widened this. We're 21 inches wide right now. You can see I cut back the door. Clearly I have to build a new door. I have to scoot this gas lamp over because this is going to hit the door. But I've already made accommodations for that on moving the gas line over. That's all it is, just a simple scoot. So here's the closet we're looking at. There's that 10-gallon freshwater tank. I wouldn't drink out of it. One of the things I did have to do was I had to rebuild this shelf. This shelf used to be 1/8 inch, kind of an MDF type board. This thing creates moisture. It sweats. It condenses on the outside. So it had kind of ruined that shelf. So I rebuilt the shelf. Put some steel in it, just because 10 gallons, what does water run? About 8 point some pounds per gallon. It's got a little bit of weight on there, so I used this. The toilet and everything's going to sit right here. That's the output for the toilet. You can clearly see I missed my initial mark. I came in here and I just dropped the tank in this, and I'm like, oh, this is the spot for the hole. But clearly the tank wasn't perfectly level, because once I built the stand and the tank was level to the floor, I had to increase it. It's a little disappointing. However, I came up with this same 3/16 inch thick Lexan. I cut a hole. This is going to go on the underside. I'm going to glue this, or whatever, flex glue or caulk it or something to the bottom of the trailer. Put several screws to hold it in, and then this will give me a tight fit to the dump. It's a 4-inch hole. So it'll give me a nice clean thing, and I'm going to show you how this works. So here's the first piece of the stand. And like I said, oh, it may look like a simple square stand on the workbench, but in here it fits with precision, such that it only fits in here one way. There's only one way you get in this thing, and this is the back of it. It has to face that way. You cannot rotate it. It has to go in a certain way. It has feet that I'm going to screw it down to the plywood base. This is 1/2-inch plywood. This is probably asbestos. This is 9x9. I'm leaving that in place. I'm going to actually, I'll show you what I've got. I'm going to actually cover this floor before I screw this down with some Armstrong 3/16 inch commercial vinyl flooring. We had some floors replaced at work, and I asked the installers for some of the cutoffs. So I'm going to cover this in that gray, and then that plywood top is going to get glued down, some of that, so the toilet sits on something that can be cleaned. But these are the taillights. This is the cable for the taillights. I'm going to lag this down at 4 points. This fits in here snug. Like I said, there ain't any room for anything. How well can you see that? Let me pull down the light. The gas line is right there. I've got about a 1/16 of an inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch clearance between that copper gas line and the steel. So yeah, that's my work light for right now. Stick that back up there. Let me drop the tank in. Let me show you this before I drop this tank in place. I got from work, this is 1/4-inch neoprene strips. This is scrap stuff that would be tossed in the garbage, but you know me, I like dragging projects home, and if something looks like it has the ability to be reused, then I reuse it. But this is 1/4-inch neoprene that we use for some of the animal enclosures at work, and I have it contact cement glued to the bottom of this tank, so there's no chafing, because there will be some weight to this as well. There's also probably going to be a little movement on this tank as we bounce on down the road. That drops in like that, like butter. I still have to tap the tank, so I need to do an 1.25 inch tap, probably somewhere around here, for the flush mechanism on the toilet to put the poop in there, and water and what's not. And I also need to tap a 3/4 inch hole for a vent. I'm considering doing the vent hole on this corner and then just running it up this structure, which will go up through here, which is going to stub through the roof. And I have a rain cap for it that's designed for toilet vents. There's the plumbing for the sink. It just dumps right out onto the ground. But I'm thinking the 3/4 line there and the 1.25 inch waste inlet. Let me drop the top of this on here and we'll keep on going. Here's something worthy to point out. You'll notice I do have these 1.5 inch bar stock, just flat steel tabs on the outside of this frame. So this frame is never going to move this way. I wanted this to be removable in case I ever have to service the tank or remove the tank. I don't have to do any cutting. So this locks in extremely tight because there's a lip here, and I'll show you how tight all this is. There's the back of the camper, so it's never going to go this way. And then I tapped these guys in place so it won't go left to right either. And yeah, this only fits one direction. So that's how the top platform sits in there. It's not going anywhere side to side and front to back. Like I said, those tabs they keep that thing in line. This is a chunk of that Armstrong flooring I was telling you about. I forget how many millimeters this is. 3, 5, 5, 7, I don't know. That minis. But I have two little cut-off scraps like this. Like I said, I'm going to glue one down here before I set the toilet, and then I'm going to cover the whole floor with this little floor and here before I even set that frame in there. So let's drop the toilet on, and I'll show you where that's looking like. So this is how the Jabsco toilet sits in here. It's going to be centered to the hole. I can fit in it fine. Again, this is not a luxurious toilet that you're going to sit on and for 45 minutes and just scroll through your phone, through your social media feeds. You're going to get in here, handle your business, and then close the door. Perfect. Standard toilets are between 14 and 17 inches to the seat. From the floor to where your booty sits, 14 to 17 inches. This one is 22 and a half. So it's a little bit taller off the ground, higher off the ground, but in a confined space like this little 10-foot trailer, sometimes you have to make accommodations. So shorter folks that might be dropping a load into here might have to climb up a little more. I'm not doing too bad on this. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. And again, that allows me to put a 9.5 gallon tank right there. I don't have to compromise any storage. The wheel well, the wheel well is right here, so I can't use that space for a waste tank. I would have to take one of the storage compartments behind the wheel well if I wanted a bigger storage tank. I don't necessarily need that. I don't think I need that. You're not going to have a family of, or a group of more than two. You're lucky if you get two people in here. But I didn't want to compromise storage space for that of a waste tank. So the gray water will continue to go out the side. I can always capture that outside. If for some reason I'm in a spot that doesn't allow the gray water to touch the ground, I could capture that in a bucket or a container, which is fine, but all the poop will be contained here. So for any pesky bowl wash downs, when you're doing a sewer dump and you've got the drain pulled, or if you happen to do something in here that leaves behind evidence of what you've done in there, I fabricated this super sprayer. This is a garden sprayer, 3.5 gallons. Buy that anywhere, Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, whatever your shopping preferences are. And then I fabricated the sprayer. I cut it and I put it was a barbed fitting that slid perfectly in there. It gave you a 1/2 inch male iron pipe thread. This is 1/2 inch female iron pipe thread. This is a sprayer from a kitchen that I had done a remodel in, and they didn't want this. So this came with a super fancy, I mean, you can buy these, right? Obviously you can buy these, but I like reusing and repurposing things. But this is a pretty good way to allow you to have some pressurized water so you can spray down the bowl. Again, if you're at a sanitary dump station and you've got the tank open and you just want to really get a good cleaning of everything, 3.5 gallons of water, it goes down the tank, and then you can let it drop out into your sanitary system. But this is what I came up with, to have a pressurized water that's far away from you. My intention going forward is to paint this black, rattle can it probably, kind of a flat black, so I could set it out in the sun, and then you have warm water, 3.5 gallons in case you want to wash your hair or wash your face in the morning. I don't think it would hold heat overnight. End of day. I probably didn't think that through. But either way, you have pressurized water. If I paint that flat black, leave it out in the sun, you've got warm water. In case you want to wash your feet at the end of the day, or wash your face, wash your hair, I don't know, wash your pits. This is nice. This works pretty well. So there's that. And when it's not in use, the tank is going to live right there. I'm going to build a thing that it sits in so it doesn't fall over or get banged around when you're driving down the road. I'm also going to build some sort of hook that'll mount to the wall here that you can hang the sprayer on, just to make it more convenient. But I'm figuring that's where that's going to stay. You do have a working shelf here if you want to put some stuff or things. The clothing rack, I guess you'll call it, or whatever, the hanger, you could put hangers on there if you really want to store clothes in your toilet room. But that's how that's fanned out. Now let's go look at the outside and let me show you how the dump is going to work. So here we are looking underneath the camper. There is fiberglass insulation between the plywood and the aluminum belly skin. Yup. Again, everything's a compromise when it comes to space and safety, and I've never done this before, but I'm trying to plan it out, so hopefully it becomes intelligent. I could have dropped that toilet height, that seat height, probably an inch or an inch and a half, which would have put it right around 20 inches. But for that, I would have had to lower this is the dump valve for a sewer line. This is a 4-inch dump. You really don't get anything. Well, I wanted this to be the same size as the tank dump, and even though it's only a 9.5 gallon tank, it still has a 4-inch opening for the Audi. So I could have dropped this down, but it would, what subsequently would happen then, it would drop my tank down, my tank dump down. Initially, I was going to put a 90-degree bend in here and have this thing dump out like this, just for the ease of hooking up, the ability to hook up your you know, your dump line. But all the 4-inch 90s, there's a couple things wrong with this. First of all, this is really only for convenience, and that's my convenience because I'm going to be the one that's going to be dumping this thing. And all the 90-degree elbows, the tightest one I could get would drop this down quite a bit. And the lower this is to the ground, the more opportunity you have to knock it off and make a problem. Now you can see the step over there hangs pretty low. So could I have gotten away with a 90 sweep and put this thing like this and been okay? Probably, maybe, but I don't want to find out. You know, if I go over some terrain that contacts that step and you bend the step, it's just a step. Actually, look at that gas line. I should probably tuck that up a little bit higher. But then again, that doesn't go... See, I got to stop looking at things. Okay. For the benefit of my convenience, this would drop down a couple more inches. It was close to 3 inches. I have a 90 I did buy it. It's in the trailer right now, but I chose not to do that. So what I'm going to do is a straight dump down. Putting the output that high up, I can mount this thing like this. So the handle is easy to get to. It's where my hand is. Hold on, let me reposition myself. Like that. That's exactly how high it'll sit. The dump handle is super easy to get to. This thing is going to sit up as higher than just about, yeah, well, I'll hit other things first, which is perfect. And then all I have to do is reach under and connect the flex line into here and stick it into a septic tank or a sewer dump at an RV park, and we'll be in pretty good shape. But that tucks it up nice. Like I said, a 90 would bring it down to like here. And all for what? Nothing. Convenience. And then, last but not least, this will be the plate. I have to trim this thing down. I didn't know what size I wanted it. I just grabbed a piece of plastic, this Lexan, out of my inventory and drilled a hole just so I had it. This is going to sit like this, and it'll give it a nice clean, the ability for me to seal this to the belly skin and then come in and seal around here so no moisture gets inside the rig and it's nice and clean. I will definitely trim a few inches off of either side of this and make it look nice. Yes, we got 1 coat of primer, both sides, 2 coats of gloss black, because that's what I had in my inventory. This is that Rust-Oleum industrial enamel. The beauty of painting outside is these eucalyptus trees this time of year are making a mess of everything. Fine, it's fine. The only part of this you'll ever see is this lip right here. You'll never see any of this. I gotta stop worrying about the dumb little details. Oh, speaking of dumb details, let me show you what I've done. Speaking of useless, maybe it's useless, maybe it's not. The majority of this you're never gonna see anyway, but and I'm not trying to make it waterproof. I'm just trying to seal the floor, because remember it had those old school tiles. I don't want to deal with that. So I just encapsulated it, and it's fine. And this makes it easier to clean, looks a little nicer. You'll never see anything from this over. And who's going to look in there anyway? Certainly not me. But I know it's there. Useless. Alright. The base of the base. Does that make sense? The base of the base is in there. Screwed into the plywood. Nice and snug. I'm leaving the tree debris in there to be a forever remembrance. Okay, let's drop the tank and see if it actually fits. It's a really good fit. It's just below these, so that top frame sits on top of the angle iron. I keep touching stuff. Of course the paint's not dry because I'm impatient. But the drill and tap I have a threaded 1.25 inch threaded where it's national pipe thread on one side and it's barbed on the other. 1.25 inch will go into the back of the flusher, and then like I said, this will be where the vent comes out. Steady progress towards worthy goals. While that top frame kicks a little more in the somewhat sunlight, I'm going to work on the plywood inset. The plywood inset for that top frame is going to ultimately be glued, have this glued down to the top of it. But I'm just kind of orienting where the toilet sits in relation to, I marked this when it was inside the trailer, so I know this is center to the opening, which gives you access to this and gives you a nice comfortable seated position. It's back far enough to where the water arm doesn't contact the wall. We've got about a 1/2 inch, and I'll be able to close the door. I mean, this is tight. Everything is just right. So as long as I mount it here, it will be good. This is a 3/4 inch Schedule 40 vent pipe. It's going to be a straight pipe. I'm able to go straight up through it. And like I mentioned before, I'm not gluing any of this. I may not have mentioned it. So if I need to service the tank, I can just pop it up. There's no pressure on this, or at least there shouldn't be, because it's going to be open. Is that the right size? I don't know. Probably. It's not like this is going to be used every day and getting pooped in on a daily basis 10 times a day. So then back here, this is the part that's going to dump into the toilet. 1.25 inch national pipe thread, barbed fitting. So I'm going to get some flexible 1.25 inch line, attach it to this. This is adjustable because this collar is 2 pieces. So if I loosen these 2 screws, this waist arm here can swivel around. This should be big enough. 3/4 inch. All these holes, I'm going to drill them now with a Forstner bit. They're going to be big enough, as I may have mentioned before, so this lid can come off, toilet and all. All I have to do is disconnect the clamp for this, pull the waist arm off, or pull the waist flex line off, and then this whole thing can lift up. Undo this. The 3/4 inch pipe, this guy right here, is going to be a straight shot out the roof, so I'll be able to loosen it. There's no pressure in here, so I'm not even going to glue these, and these fit really tight anyway. Schedule 40 pipe. The connections to the pipe fit really tight, so I'm just going to give it a good harumph. I may put a little pipe dope or something around there if I'm really worried about it, but again, it's not under pressure. But this will be able to pull straight up through the roof and out of the way, and then I'll be able to disconnect the flexible line from the waist arm to the inlet to the tank, and then this whole thing can lift right off that tank if I ever need to change it or repair it or do something. Hello. Yeah, this is clean. I don't think I ever did a video on it, but when I got this, of course, this is a used toilet. I took it completely apart. Soaked everything in bleachy, soapy water for a long time. Hot, soapy, bleachy water before I even got in there and started scrubbing. So all these little things are free and clear of anybody else's doings. And then I put it all back together knowing I'd rebuild it, but I should have rebuilt it at the time, but I'm not always that smart. It's just super dusty from sitting around. All right, let's keep moving. Put all this back. Oh, idiot. Let's see what we got here. All right, we'll put all these back. Put that there because that's still warm. This is where we leave the plywood. This is like 10 or 12 ply, 3/4 ply. I'm going to let this glue fully cure. I drilled all the holes in it. I don't know that I showed a video of that after the holes are done. Doesn't matter. Waist in, vent out. The 4 holes for the bolts, this is stainless steel. Dug through my hoard. Actually found 4 matching stainless steel nuts, bolts, washers. Oh, there's the other washer. And I recessed. I used this Forstner bit, which is the size of the head, because I want these to sit flush with the bottom of this plywood. The bottom of the plywood is about the thickness of the steel, right? So it's about 1/8 of an inch or so above the tank, and I don't want any possibility of metal rubbing. So I just dipped it down just enough to drop this into the hole and make the head flush with the ply. Blah, 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 blah. So we're going to let that stick. I got other things I got to get done today. I'll show you what's going on and how I'm going to leave the trailer for today. And so this is how we'll leave the trailer. I got the angle of the top piece just in here, just out of the weather, while that fully cures, as well as that. That's the tank in place on top of that base. It's just set in there. I haven't done any bottom side plumbing yet because this does need to come back out so I can drill and tap the 2 holes. That's all that work, and really that's all you're going to see of the floor, but I'm okay with that. It's okay. It looks good. We'll leave that. We'll leave that. I'm on 110 power now, just so I'd have better light. And in working in there, and I'm going to lock this thing up. I got to go cut grass. I think I may have mentioned that already. All right, that's what we're going to do for today. Thanks for watching. Gotta go, gotta run.